Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. I see there's folks rolling into the webinar. We will get started right at the top of the hour. So about another minute by my clock, and then we'll start the presentation. While you're waiting, you can read our little housekeeping slide here, which I will also go over at the top of the hour. So again, thank you for joining us this morning. All right, by my clock, I've got 11 o'clock. I still see there are some folks rolling into the webinar. So as folks are rolling in, I will just go over a couple of these housekeeping items for you. First off, to make sure you're in the right Zoom webinar, you are here for the functional overview on the power of reporting in Workday session. And before we get started, 3 points about the webinar today. First is we have enabled the live transcript. So if that is something that you are interested in, the directions are on the screen for how you can enable that for yourself. Second, we are making a recording of this session, and it will be available on the Elevate website once we get it remediated for accessibility. As an attendee today, you'll get an email notice when that has been posted. And if you registered, or if you have a friend who registered but wasn't able to attend, they will also get an email saying when the recording has been posted to the website. And last, and probably most important, we have enabled the Q&A feature of this webinar. And so we encourage you to post your questions throughout the session. We have a team of panelists from the Elevate team working in the background to help address your questions. We also have time at the end of the session where we can take your question, when we will be able to respond live to some of your questions. So those are our housekeeping. And with that, next slide, Karen. Again, thank you for joining us. Your Elevate support team for today is myself. I am Gabe Bugenhagen. I am the change management lead for the Elevate program. I have about 15 years experience at the University of Maryland College Park. I've been in a couple different roles across campus, and I joined the Elevate program in January of 21. So I'm pleased to be with you today. We also have Karen Dieso. She is our communications lead, and she is working in the background to help our panelists get the questions answered. And last but not least, I'm thrilled that we have Michelle Appel here as our reporting lead. We're really excited because she is actually getting ready to join the institution. Oh gosh, Michelle, you're gonna have to keep me honest on this one. The Institution of Research Planning and Assessment as their new assistant vice president. And she starts there on Monday. So we are thrilled that she was able to join us today. She has a wealth of information about reporting. So you might, if you're new with us today, you might be wondering what is a functional overview. Perhaps this is the first session you've ever attended. So a few points about functional overviews. First, we host these monthly. They tend to be on the third Thursday of the month, which of course next week is Thanksgiving. So we're a little bit off schedule for today's session, but we do target the last Thursday of the month. They're open to everybody across our partner entities. So that would be any faculty, staff, grad assistant from College Park, Eastern Shore, OMSIs, or the system office. We will be continuing these sessions through early 2023. We try to target less than an hour. So we're really targeting the 45-minute. Hopefully that gives everybody 15 minutes to move on to their next top of the hour appointments or courses or whatever. These are optional. The intent of these is to give a sneak peek about Workday, about some specific topics, like today is reporting. So it's to raise some of your awareness about Workday. This is not intended to be full-scale training. We don't expect you to walk out of today's session fully capable to pull reports and do what you need to do for your job. It's simply a preview. The training, the end user training, will begin in spring of 23, in the April timeframe. So our agenda today. We're going to be introducing you to reports in Workday and who has access to them. We will also be discussing what's changing and what are some of the benefits. Michelle will also be going through some ways that you can access reports and also what some of those key features of reports are. And then lastly, she will be doing a live demo to demonstrate some of the power of reporting. And again, before we move on to Michelle real quick, I want to reinforce that Q&A is open. Please feel free to drop your questions in there at any time during Michelle's presentation. So Michelle, with that, I turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Gay, and I am really excited to be here as I end my time on Elevate and move back to my home unit in institutional research planning and assessment. And I know that reporting is going to be in great hands with the reporting team that we've built here on Elevate. So Workday delivers an extensive number of standard reports. And in addition to the standard reports, we've built an additional number, almost 400, of custom reports based on Maryland-specific requirements. We expect to have over 400 custom reports available to users at Go Live, depending on your security role. We got to those reports by looking at existing reports as our requirements. Requirements, not one-to-one translation, and then moving those requirements into a Workday format. When we go live, we'll make sure you're able to find the new report that corresponds to the legacy requirements. To give you an idea of the kinds of reports there are, we're going to be going over the reports that are listed here. We'll look at Browse Learning. That's a report available to everyone, and it's used to identify the learning opportunities that you can complete. We'll also look at the Directory by Organization report, also available to everyone, and that includes a directory listing of workers for one or more supervisory organizations. Those details will include the worker, their supervisory organization, their phone number, and a variety of other contact information. Finally, we're going to look at the headcount analysis for my organization. That's a report available to managers so that they can analyze the individuals within their organization, and they can identify the breakdown of worker type, location, hiring source, etc. Now, maybe you noticed when I was listing those reports that not all of them are available to everyone. That's because report access is driven by security. You learned in the last functional overview that each user is granted one or more security roles, and that determines what access to data they have in the system. That translates to the report access as well. In addition, some access to data is confined by the cost center or the soup org assigned to the user. Before we go too much further, I want to highlight a major shift in the way we think about reporting as we move to Workday. Right now, reporting happens outside of our actual transactional systems, PHR and KFS. Instead, users go to systems like admin reports, or they write their own queries using a warehouse. In Workday, reporting is built into the system, and the majority of users will have everything that they need right where they connect on it. Only special cases will be handled outside of Workday. And because of this, we think of our strategy as Workday first with a warehouse. You'll use Workday reports for transactions to get to the everyday business processes that you need to accomplish, like pulling a list of journal lines so you can make adjustments, or viewing lists of employees so that you can make necessary changes to their records. Workday also has operational reports, so you can look at the most up-to-date data for your day-to-day management and decisions. You won't have to wait overnight for a warehouse refresh to see your daily balance or to see any changes that were made to your employees' emergency contacts. The kind of reporting that's best suited for a warehouse is analytic reporting, particularly for audiences who don't use Workday regularly or who need aggregate reporting for a group that they might not be tied to in Workday. For example, a faculty member who's applying for a grant might need to see a variety of measures of diversity by college. They can get this information through a report on the campus reporting platform that currently is and will continue to be fed by a frozen data warehouse. And they'll be able to see all colleges in that, not just the one to which they're assigned. Alternatively, the president might want to look at research expenditures for a unit. And again, that's available in a campus reporting platform. In the first case, the faculty member needs data that's outside of their own home organization. In both cases, the audience for the analysis are people who are not likely to be spending large portions of time inside of Workday to accomplish their daily job. I've already alluded to some of the benefits of Workday already, but I want to spell them out. First, data will be accessible in essentially real time, meaning that users will have access to the most current data and don't have to wait for an external system to load them. There are some index data sources that are slightly delayed by a few minutes, and there will be some data sources that we will bring into Workday from an outside source, and those won't be real time. But for the most part, you'll be able to see the results of the actions that you've taken right away when you run a Workday report. Because the majority of reports update the page upon a page refresh or upon submission, we think that going to Workday first is the best option for most people. Second, reports are secure in Workday, as I already mentioned. That means that the data are visible only to the roles that are given the appropriate permissions. You only will be allowed to see what you're allowed to see with your Workday permissions, without any extra overhead or permissioning that's needed in some of our external systems. You actually won't even be able to see what reports are available to you, what reports aren't available to you. So if there's a report, but you don't have permission to see it, you'll never even have the option to select it. Finally, in many cases, users are going to be able to take action directly from the report. One example of this shown on your screen is the emergency contacts report. Not only will I be able to view my emergency contacts, but I can also click edit from this report and edit that information. Another example, and that's the one actually that you see here, is the directory by organization. You can click any of the blue hyperlinks to drill into the related information, or even in this case, you could click on the worker's email address and your email service will pre-populate an email right there in Workday. The blue hyperlinks throughout the system allow you to drill into related information or take related action. So I always remember the phrase, if it's blue, you can do. So how will you be able to access these reports? There are two main ways that I would use. The first is through the search bar. The search feature uses predictive searching to make finding a report easy. While you can search by the exact name of a report, you can also enter keywords or a portion of the word to display search results. You're going to get used to this very quickly and love this feature. You'll need to make sure you're spelling correctly though, because if you misspell the search text, you likely won't see any results. If you're not sure what's available related to a keyword, you can enter that word and see what the search bar displays as available options. In this example, you can see that we typed my team, and you can see the multiple results that were populated. You can also, the second way, access reports from within the applications on the homepage. That's on your right-hand side. Like this report on the worklet that's available through time and absence through that application. Okay, we're about to show you a live demonstration. But before we do that, I want to prepare you for some of the features you're going to see, starting with prompts. Prompts are selections that can be displayed prior to executing a report if they've been enabled on that report. Not all reports on prompt day, not all reports in Workday will have prompts. That said, prompts are a huge deal in Workday because they allow you to set some parameters before you run the report. And you can combine them. So in our current state, we have a lot of reports and queries that are very similar in their output, but each report has slightly different selects in the background. Now, instead of having lots of reports or queries, I can have one that meets various needs, all based on the prompts that you use to make your selections. Using the workers with no time entry report as an example, what you see on your screen, you can see all the available results, prompts that you can use to filter your results. Prompts can be optional or required, and since there's no red asterisk here, there's nothing required. You could just click on OK, get the full report. Or you can enter individual or multiple values based on the desired results that you want to see. Like here, we used worker type and we selected employee. But we could have also selected contract worker. One common checkbox in those prompts for supervisory organizations is include subordinates. This allows users to include data from all the subordinates of the organization that's currently selected. This is a really great feature. So now prompts are a good segue into saved filters. Workday offers the ability to save filters on custom reports, and this allows you to save your prompt parameters to be used again. So using the headcount growth analysis here, you can see we've entered some values into the prompts already, including the required value with that red asterisk of organization. But with this report, we also have a filter, and we've saved it. If you've created one already, you go to the Saved Filters dropdown, select your filter, and it automatically updates your prompt. If you don't have one, you can set your prompt, then enter the filter name and save, and now you can go to that prompt and that set of parameters whenever you revisit this report. Once we're finally on a report, you're going to see the report data, of course, but along with that, a lot of ways that you can interact with the data and with the report. I'm going to go through all of these actions in the demo, but I want to call them out now so you can see how they generally interact. The first icon that you're going to see is the change selection icon. And that kind of looks like an abacus. When you click that icon at the top, you can easily change your prompt selection without having to re-enter the report name and re-enter the prompt. Now, the next selection that's there in blue is the column headers. And like Excel, you're able to click on a report header to be able to sort and filter. And then the last area that we'll highlight is the set of icons that's above the report and to the right. From here, you can control the view of the report by expanding, collapsing, toggling the report. You can rearrange or remove columns. And you can see that there are also icons for you to export the report to Excel or to the internal worksheets function in Workday, or even to a PDF. So now that we've kind of given you the orientation, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that I can show you a demo. We're going to see 3 different types of reports, and these are examples of the kinds of reports you're going to use in the system and how to run them and how to navigate through them. There are many more reports available, as we've noticed, than we could possibly cover today. All employees will be able to run some reports. Today, I've logged in as a typical manager, Martha manager, in the Workday training environment. This is what it will look like. So let's get started. The first type of report we're going to take a look at, you might remember from one of our previous functional overviews. Martha wants to look at the learning catalog within Workday. On the Workday homepage, I'm going to use the search bar because that's the way I love to do it. And I'm going to type in learning catalog. You can see up comes browse learning catalog. I'm going to click on that. This is a searchable report. Often you're going to interact with this kind of report without even realizing that technically it's a report. Reports can be easily filtered using a variety of different criteria for searchable reports like this one. And filters can be applied using this column on the left. So you can see I can highlight or I can expand and collapse so that I have more or less filters. Whenever I see a caret like this, I can expand it. So while that helps, sometimes I still have a long list to sort. And I might want to just use this search bar in the report itself, as opposed to the search bar at top. Use the search bar in this report, and I'm going to search for Title IX. Martha's now able to find the courses she's looking for much more quickly. So this is a short overview of this kind of searchable report. Now let's get to an example of an advanced report. Advanced reports allow you to quickly access information stored within Workday. Advanced reports for typical employees might help you view information such as a directory. As a manager, you can use advanced reports to access information related to your own team or department. Martha wants to look at the directory to find contact information for a particular set of employees. She wants to only pull the contact information for the workers within the supervisory organization that she manages. She can search for directory by organization to find this information. So you can see here I use the three little letters. There's my directory by organization report. I'm going to click on it. So after she selects the report, she's going to be prompted. And she's going to be prompted to select the supervisory organization. That red asterisk means that that's a required prompt. So she can enter her own name in this field to see what's available to her. I'm going to select academic affairs. And I hit OK. When I do that, you can see I've got one person within that particular supervisory organization. But if you remember, supervisory organizations stack on top of one another to form a hierarchy. So we're going to use this change selection button to bring our prompts back up. And recall, we talked about including subordinate organizations. I can click that so I can see everything that falls underneath academic affairs. If I wanted to, I could include the managers as well. But since Martha's the manager, she doesn't need to see her own contact information. I'm going to skip that for today. Now I have the information that's publicly available for these 22 employees. You can see there's 22 items at the top. I can use the icons at the top of the table to change my view, expand, or contract. And here's where I would move my column preferences. That would be only for me. And I can also apply filters or sort for the results. So I'm going to click this business title because I want to sort, or I want to filter here. And I'm going to look for titles that contain the word advisor. I hit filter. And now I've got those 2 employees that are advisors. Now, I could then further sort these results by worker name by just using this, clicking on the header and using sort ascending or sort descending, or I could remove them. So that's our wrap on advanced reports. Then I want to take you to one last kind of report, and that's a report that you might see called a matrix report. Matrix reports give you the ability to dive deeper into the analytics of a large amount of data. Martha wants to view an analysis of the headcount within her department, and she can do that by searching for headcount. I now have a list of reports that are available to me, and I'm going to select headcount analysis. Here's an example of one that didn't have that prompt before running it. So this matrix report shows both a listing of the data as well as a graphical representation of the data. In the table of data, any of the blue text is selectable. And by selecting a supervisory organization in the table, you can get more information about that particular subset. So I can hover over things and get more information. And you can see as I hover over these columns, they change color. Selecting one of the bars allows you to begin acting on that information or narrowing the report to a more detailed view. I'm going to select the bar Finance. There we go. I can now view this information by location. And when I do that, I get a new graphic. I'll have the ability to begin drilling into even more detail. So this is showing the number of employees by location. And you can see that only one employee is at this Baltimore Avenue location. I can view this even in a even more detailed way by clicking over this one and viewing the details. Now I can see that Frederick Elliott is the person at 7401 Baltimore Avenue. You can see here at the top, I could also, if I had more data, run a little pivot table by a variety of fields that are predefined. I'm not going to do that today because I only have one employee, but you can see this is really powerful. Workday defaulted to this donut chart, but you can customize the graphic to help you visualize the data in other more meaningful ways to you. By selecting this configure button, I can change the chart type. Maybe I want this to be a clustered column. So that is the end of our live demo. And I'm going to hand this back to Gay to continue the session.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. I love that live demo. Your team has been doing an amazing job, and we're sad to see you leave Elevate, but we are excited for you to begin your new role with IRPA. So for the audience here, we've talked about reporting, but perhaps after this session, you're a little curious about how you can learn more about the Elevate program itself. And there's several ways that you can engage or participate with the Elevate program. First, and perhaps easiest, would be to go to our elevate.umd.edu website. And on the website, we have a couple different areas that might be of interest. The first here is the Elevate program goals, and you can go and read why Elevate? How did we get here? What are some of the things we hope to accomplish? We also have some of the history on the program and what's coming up. The third item here is we do frequently asked questions. So I've been monitoring the Q&A, and you guys have been popping some great questions in. And as we go through those, there are questions that we get from events like this or town halls, and we post those on our FAQ page. We also have on the website an opportunity for you to ask us questions directly through our ServiceNow portal. The fourth item here is our elevator newsletter. We publish this monthly. It's subscription only. So we don't blanket out the newsletter. If you subscribe, you'll get it on the last Tuesday of the month. Second to last here, we have a glossary. And what we've heard from you all quite frequently is crosswalk. So on the glossary, what we try to do is where there is a Maryland term and the Workday term, we try to let you know what those two things are. Some Workday terms don't have a corresponding UMD term or an easily one-for-one. So the glossary is a great resource as you're attending events and you're hearing us use different words or whatever to refer to the glossary. And last but not least, I want to call out the news and events. This is a key section of the website. All of our recordings from any of our live events, whether they're town halls, these functional overviews, or other videos that we've posted, will show up under the news and events. And as I said earlier, we try to do them on the last Thursday of the month. So December, we aren't going to have one. We will resume functional overviews in January. So the next one would be on January 26th, if you're trying to at least put a calendar hold for that. The topic will be tracking time and time off. And with that, we'd like to hear from you. And so I'm going to toss it over to Karen, who's going to be running a quick poll.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, so we are just going to run a quick poll for you all about today's session. We like to get feedback from folks about how the session went and get some feedback about, also we have a new question here if you've been with us for functional overviews in the past. So I'll just run this poll for about a minute and then we'll dive into some question and answers with Michelle. I'm seeing the poll numbers go up, so thank you so much, everybody. Great. So Michelle and I are going to jump into some Q&A now. You might be aware that if you've been submitting questions on the back end, our team has been triaging those questions on the back end. So our team has been answering your questions, but also we picked out a few that we just wanted Michelle to be able to answer here for everyone's edification. So Michelle, I'm going to start off right now with a question. Hold on one second. So the first question we have is, will I be able to create my own reports in Workday?
So the answer to that is there will be hundreds of reports available and lots of power and flexibility given to users in drill down. So you probably won't need to. But additionally, as we saw in the demo, when you go into drill down, you're going to be able to create your own pivots and manipulate the data as you want it in that drill down screen. And you'll also be able to configure your own report using that the configuration button that I showed you.
Great. The next question I have is, will I be able to see historic data from PHR and KFS in Workday reports?
In most cases, no. You're going to be able to access your historic operating reports via the adminreports.umd.edu for 3 years until Workday has a sufficient repository of historic data.
Great. The next question I have for you is, how can I combine historical and Workday data to be able to do trend analysis?
So that's a really good question. And I want to highlight that whenever you're doing this, it's really, you have to really think about what the question is, because we have new ways of seeing things in Workday that we didn't in the past. With that said, in some cases, a PRISM data source will be created in Workday that brings that historical data in to create some reports without officially converting the historic data. In other cases, you're going to export something from Workday to Excel and then combine it with historic data from another system. And so you're going to have to kind of do that manually based on what that question is that you're asking.
Great. So our next question, we got this a couple times today in different various forms. So people are asking, can I share report results with others?
So yes, you can, because you can export your results in Excel and email them to someone, or you can save them in this worksheet in Workday that's kind of like Google Docs, Google Sheets. However, we urge caution that you do that when you do that, because Workday security is not going to be applied in those situations. So you might be sharing with someone who's not supposed to have access to those data. So you can export, you can put them in a worksheet to share them with other people, or you can just tell them the name of the report and the prompts that you used, and they can go run them themselves.
Awesome. My next question for you, how will I know what to put in the filters so I don't pick something I can't access?
This is a really great feature in Workday, because for most people, the number of options that you have in those filters is going to be pretty small. You'll only be able to see what you have access to. So you can't accidentally choose something that you don't have access to. When we expect that most people will use the report in a very specific way with a very specific set of filters, we'll auto-populate that prompt for you, but allow a user to change it. So that'll help as well. And finally, we're going to hold sessions early in the go live period to help users set up their saved filters to just make that just a little bit easier.
That dovetails nicely into my next question. Will I be able to share my saved filters with others?
No, Workday does not support that. But again, when we hold those early on sessions, you can collaborate and you can all kind of brainstorm about what those filters should be.
Great. And I have a quick question that I'll take. Someone asked if this session will be posted or recorded. We are recording this session. We always post our functional overviews on the website. And then anyone who is in this webinar right now, or even people who registered and were not able to make it, will get an email from us early next week. So I know you'll be getting ready for Thanksgiving, but keep an eye out for an email from Elevate if you want to revisit this webinar or the great demo that Michelle did, because I'm sure I might even revisit that one myself. And then another question that we got was, how do I get access to the data tables to be able to run my own queries from the warehouse?
So we've had this question a lot, and it's a good question given the way we currently operate. But if you recall what I said in the beginning, there's a lot of power that makes you want to stay inside Workday. Additionally, Workday organizes data in a completely different way than a traditional relational database that we're used to working with. So because of those two things, a warehouse is going to be available, but with very limited data. And our focus and strategy going forward is, again, using Workday first whenever possible because that gives you so many more options.
Awesome. Okay. My next question for you, Michelle, is there a report that will show per unit which appointees have a 10-year review year coming up and their UID? And will it show who has had a 10-year delay?
So yes, there is a report that you can filter for that. And I think we can add whether the person had a 10-year delay, since that's important. We'll have to look into that.
Great. How will I know if my report that I use today will be accessible in Workday?
So we've had a lot of conversation around this. We've inventoried over 800 reports that currently exist in reporting systems across the campuses, across local offices, and we've worked with our stakeholders to determine whether they're still even going to be needed in the new Workday system. Sometimes these reports are fixing something that doesn't work well in our existing system. We narrowed that down, and that's how we got our inventory. If you're concerned about a specific report, the best thing to do is to contact the Elevate team.
Awesome. And then to contact the Elevate team, that's on our website. If you go to the contact page on our website, there is a handy dandy form there through ServiceNow. You can also email us at elevate@umd.edu. Pretty easy to remember. And we're coming up on 11:40, so we have about 5 minutes left. I think maybe we have time for like 1 or 2 more questions. So Michelle, is there a crosswalk? We get this question a lot. Is there a crosswalk for current PHR or KFS reports to what they are in Workday?
Yes, the short answer is yes, there will be. We're going to be providing documentation that allows you to identify where to go in Workday to get the same information that you used to have in the legacy reports. There's going to be some cases where there's not an exact one-to-one, but we'll have some sort of aid that helps you figure out where to go to get what you need.
Awesome. And I imagine that will live in a very easily accessible place. As communications lead, I can say that it will live in an easily accessible, obvious place, either on our website or in another repository. And then I think the last question we have is, will Workday reporting replace BA4?
We get this one a lot as well. So Workday's reporting capabilities are super powerful. And we anticipate you're going to want to go to Workday reports as your standard first stop. I haven't said Workday first before. Imagine that I'm saying it now. Workday first to get your information. Particularly, again, because you can take action right from the results. But with that said, BA4 is not currently scheduled to go away. So our understanding is that it will still be available.
And that's all the questions that we got during this session, although I know there are some outstanding ones that came in while Michelle was talking. I did see one question come in asking if you can export, and we addressed this a little bit, but someone was asking if you can export reports directly to Excel. And to Michelle's point from earlier, you will be able to export reports from Excel that you have access to, but Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't encourage a lot of that because of data security reasons.
Yep, exactly.
And because, as you saw earlier in the demonstration, Workday has a lot of power directly within Workday to be able to do some cool stuff that maybe before you were exporting to Excel because you couldn't do it in the native system. Great. So I am going to wrap up this session for today. Michelle, thank you so much. This was an awesome session. I got really excited about Workday reporting, so I hope everyone else did as well. If you have submitted a question to our team in the Q&A, handy dandy Q&A feature, we will follow up with you. Luckily, our team has everyone's contact information. So if you submitted a question and we weren't able to address it, we will email you with a follow-up response, and you will hear from us. Probably not next week because it's Thanksgiving, but you will hear from us sometime soon. And then, yeah, we just really appreciate everyone for attending. And I think it's 11:44. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up and give you like 30 seconds of your day back. Thank you so much, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving. Bye.